protests, and even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence.
There has been absolutely no slowdown to all these protests going on in LA. And a matter of fact, they've actually expanded to other cities, Seattle, New York, Chicago, and it just really seems like there's no end in sight. And there's just such this divide. Like, I don't really know how to explain it. It's crazy how some of us can look at one thing and be like, oh, this is bad. And then other people on the other side will be like, oh, well, it's really the people enforcing the law's fault. So I'm going to dive into all the latest info on the riots going on and how people like Gavin Newsom and Mayor Bass are reacting versus like people like Trump, because they're blaming completely different groups of people. So let's jump into this. So President Trump made a statement about everything going on.
A very simple rule of engagement. If they're dangerous, if they're throwing concrete or bricks, if they're spitting in the face of the police or whoever's in front of them, if they're punching people, if they're doing all of the things that you see done for the last 3 nights, that I would say is engagement. We need to keep our city straight. I want to save Los Angeles. And Newsom is totally incompetent. He's not going to do it. Look at the fires he had. He had fires where half the city, it seems, burned down. What was it, 25,000 houses, all because he wouldn't take water. I released the water from the Pacific Northwest, and it came down millions of gallons a day. And it's right there right now. They'd like to send it back. There's something wrong with these people. All I want in terms of engagement, I just want to see peace.
Say what you want about Trump, but that man is a funny dude. So basically he's saying is he wants to save Los Angeles. Newsom is more so is getting in the way. He's arguing on the side of the protesters, and he's basically saying law enforcement is the issue, which is an insane route to take, seeing that you're a politician. So let's look at some of the stuff going on. So the biggest thing yesterday was the protesters were taking over the highway out there. There's a sky view of it, really blocking the highway.
Right now, overhead, it's almost 4 p.m. there in Los Angeles. Even more of these protesters now making their way onto the highway, onto the interstate, much like they did over the weekend. So like I said, obviously this...
Like, just absolutely insane. Look at this.
See law enforcement now.
Now law enforcement has to come out there to get people off of the highway. Like, it's like dealing with children. Here's like a side view of it. You know, when you do stuff like this, I always say this about those, was it Just Stop Oil people in Europe? You're ruining everyday people's lives. These people are just trying to get to work. They're trying to get home to see their family. They're going to the store. They're just trying to live their lives. And you're taking your issue you have and you're ruining their lives. I'll dive a little bit more into that later in the video, but it's just stupid. Here's more of it. Look at that. Just right out on the highway. Like, so I live on the East Coast, so our biggest highway is I-95. I could not ever imagine a group of people walking out on I-95 and just blocking all traffic. Like that's an insane thought to me, and this has become the normal in Los Angeles. Another thing is with these things going on. So this is Cam Higbee. I've covered him on my page before. He's a really good reporter. He usually covers the Seattle stuff. He's been in Los Angeles the past few days. He shows these videos, and a big criticism, especially people on the right have had about these protests, is all these people are protesting ICE. That's the whole idea, right? They're protesting ICE because they don't want to get deported. They want to stay here. But what they've been doing is they've been burning American flags and flying Mexican flags. They're burning the flag of the country they want to stay in while flying the flag of the country they don't want to get deported to. So it looks like they're changing their optics, because he posts 2 videos here of people actually handing out American flags. to people. And you can see this guy walking around right here. Looks like they're trying to change up their messaging. A little late though. Here is literally, look at this whole street. Look at all these cops blocking this one street. This is absolutely insane. Like, these cops have been working nonstop. So I found this article. It says lefty nonprofits are openly fueling LA riots by handing out F-ICE protective gear. So apparently these are, quote, PPE kits. Come with masks, snacks, water, gauze, bandages, all this stuff. But apparently that also comes with this that says F-ICE. Street resistance, and a bunch of fists up there. Jail support. All this stuff they're handing out to their fellow protesters. And then, I don't know if this is true or not. I'm going to play this video. I can't verify it. But
when I was out in Los Angeles protesting the ICE deportations for the past few days, besides the fact that I got paid $150 to do so per day, I kept seeing signs everywhere that this was being funded by somebody much higher than the person that I had met. For instance, they would give us certain streets or certain targets to go to, and on those streets, there would be pallets of things that could cause destruction to the community. I am not joking. For instance, you turn a corner, boom, there's a pallet of bricks. Oh, that's convenient. Let's destroy the community. And y'all know me, I'm a good guy, but I truly do not care that much about the ICE deportations. I just wanted that $150 a day. But I got to thinking, man, whoever is funding this must really hate this country.
that's the biggest thing with these protests. It's usually labeled a conspiracy theory, but a lot of these protests seem to be well-funded, well-organized, and you got to wonder where these people are getting money from. Because clearly these protests, it's Wednesday now, I'm recording this. These protests went on Monday. They went on Tuesday. These protesters are either taking off work every single day and they just have unlimited PTO, or they don't have jobs. But they need to eat. They need to be funded. So if this dude said he's getting paid $150 a day, that's pretty good. You know, if you're out there for what, 10 hours, what, $15 an hour? Like, that's good. And it's untaxed because you're probably getting paid cash. So, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so like I said, I can't verify this. So YouTube, I'm not saying this is true or not, but he's claiming it, and this has been a theory in the past. So I personally would not be surprised if this was true. So now we're going to get into what the California politicians are saying about this. And spoiler alert, they're defending the rioters.
And even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed. Get it in your head. And so when martial law is called, what are you going to say? I missed the point. Don't miss the point, you all. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence. I was on the street. I know. And I went from downtown detention back out into the community, talking to people what happened in Paramount, what happened in Compton.
So her definition of violence apparently is someone has to be killed. You know, I guess this isn't violent. This isn't violent. So Maxine Waters, if you don't know, she's a congresswoman that represents a part of California, is straight saying there is no violence going on. There's only 4 days of pictures of stuff like this. There's no violence. This is how they gaslight you. Like, you guys, I don't know if any of you guys are Avatar: The Last Airbender fans, the cartoon. There's like a scene where they're in Ba Sing Se, which is city, and the government there are brainwashing the citizens, and he's like there's no war in Ba Sing Se, and they're like, what are you talking about? Yeah, there is. And they're like really brainwashing and think there's not, when there is a war going on in the world. That's what this is. Sunny Hostin, of course, has to give her input because she's an expert on everything, and I will say I'm surprised. I don't think she made this about race.
I heard the same thing. I spoke to about 5 people that live in LA, that work in LA, and they said that these protests were very, very orderly. They weren't violent, and they occurred in about a 4-block radius.
Well, since those 5 people she spoke to that live in LA say that, even though knowing her, since she's a multi-millionaire, those 5 people probably don't live in the parts where their protests happen. They probably live in the rich part. But yeah, let's take Sunny Hostin's word for that, right? This is like something you would see in South Park. I swear I can't believe these people are real. The mayor is saying how they don't need help and how everything is calm and peaceful, as CNN is literally playing a video of all the crime happening. This is CNN. It's not Fox News spreading propaganda. This is CNN.
Given the point where it has escalated to, do you think the National Guard is needed now?
Look at that.
No, I
Car
don't
on
think
fire.
the National Guard is needed now. Things in LA are calm. I will tell you that
She said they're calm and they don't need a National Guard. Look at this.
I'm saddened by the extent of the vandalism in the form of graffiti all through the downtown area. But it is important for people to know that even in downtown, this is isolated to a few streets. This is not citywide civil unrest taking place in Los Angeles. A few streets downtown, it looks horrible. People committed crimes. It is absolutely unacceptable. And
I get Los Angeles is a ginormous city that goes on. You could drive for like an hour, you're still in Los Angeles. I get that. I've only been there once when I was younger. I get Los Angeles is huge. But you still have tens of thousands of people out there. That's more than that's literally the town I live in. There's more people protesting than the whole town I live in. Like, this is a huge thing. Even though your population might be 9 or 10 million, whatever it is in Los Angeles, even if you have tens of thousands, that's an issue. That's a lot of people destroying businesses, destroying the city that your tax dollars are going to have to pay for. So this is more of the let's blame Trump right here.
But the real solution of all of this is for the administration to stop the raids. We have heard that these raids might take place for the next 30 days. We don't know how many are going to take place in a given day. And you just think about the disruption to families and the disruption to our local economy.
So the solution is to stop deporting illegals who came into the country illegally, is what she's saying. And if your economy is that reliant on people making $5 an hour, that's an issue. You claim to be you're the state with the highest minimum wage. These illegals they're making way less than minimum wage, and you're that dependent on them? It's disgusting. This is where she just came out with this, I think most recently. She's implementing a curfew because they're going to finally act like they care about this. Just listen to this.
Looting. Many businesses have now been affected by or vandalized. Last night, there were 23 businesses that were looted. And I think that if you drive through downtown LA, the graffiti is everywhere and has caused significant damages to businesses and a number of properties. So my message to you is, if you do not live or work in downtown LA, avoid the area. Law enforcement will arrest individuals who break the curfew, and you will be prosecuted. Hundreds of officers from police and sheriff departments from across the region and state are working alongside LAPD through a unified command structure.
She said 23 businesses have been looted. And she said that was just last night. 23. And it's not just like, people was like, because an Apple store got looted. And I've seen liberals like, oh no, a big billion-dollar corporation. It's not just that. There was like a family-owned sushi place that got looted. There was a family-owned, there's another family-owned thing. There's small gas stations. They're usually immigrant-owned and family-owned, okay? There's a lot of small businesses being taken. And the thing is, too, if you have businesses like Apple and Nike and Jordan's, all those places are being looted, too. Why are those businesses going to stay in your city if you're allowing it? They're not. If you look at San Francisco, they've lost a bunch of business, and Los Angeles is going to get the same way. Now, Los Angeles is a lot bigger, and they're not as extreme as San Francisco, believe it or not. So it's going to take some time, but they're going to get to that point too. And they just don't care. Now, this is the big part I really wanted to show you guys, which I just think it's absolutely disgusting. So if you guys don't know, I'm sure you do, Gavin Newsom is the governor of California. Yes, he looks like a sleazy salesman because he most likely is. So my whole thoughts on this is, whether you think Trump should have sent the National Guard or not, because it's more of a governor's job, you can make that debate. But clearly, this place needs the help. The LAPD is working tirelessly every single day. They have to be exhausted. They're probably barely getting any sleep. And the government of the state is showing that they don't have their backs. And it's absolutely disgusting. So this is Gavin Newsom going on a 2-minute rant basically saying this is all Trump's fault.
This isn't just about protests here in Los Angeles. When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived. He's taking a wrecking ball to our founding fathers' historic project. 3 co-equal branches of independent government. There are no longer any checks and balances. Congress is nowhere to be found. Speaker Johnson has completely abdicated that responsibility. The rule of law has increasingly been given way to the rule of Don. The founding fathers, they didn't live and die to see this kind of moment. It's time for all of us to stand up. Justice Brandeis, he said it best. In a democracy, the most important office, with all due respect, Mr. President, is not the presidency, and it's certainly not governor. The most important office is office of citizen. At this moment, we all need to stand up and be held to account, a higher level of accountability. If you exercise your First Amendment rights, please do it peacefully. I know many of you are feeling deep anxiety, stress, and fear, but I want you to know that you are the antidote to that fear and that anxiety. What Donald Trump wants most is your fealty, your silence to be complicit in this moment. Do not give in to it.
So it's Trump's fault. So that's what that whole thing was. So basically right now, this is the thing that gets me when it comes to this stuff, is I get there are people actually peaceful protesting. I 100% get that. I get there's people standing out there just with signs. They don't agree with it. I don't have an issue with that. Now, when you start blocking the highway, that becomes an issue. But if you're just standing out in the street in a public area, you have a sign. I don't agree with your views on this, but I don't care. And they're trying to gaslight you into thinking that's everyone. That's not everyone. And the thing is, if they just called out the people that aren't doing this more, the people that are being violent, saying we're not going to put up with this, or the people that are looting, instead of doing it 4 days later, acting like they're going to do something about it, that's the issue. You should have called that out from the start, but they didn't. And instead of focusing on getting their city in check and actually saving people's businesses, saving the innocent people there that don't want to deal with this stuff, they're focusing on Trump. They're saying, oh, Trump's abusing his powers. Trump's trying to save your city that you clearly don't care about. And they always make it about Trump and, oh, he's a dictator. Gavin had a chance here to be kind of uniteful. His image has already been tainted a lot from the wildfires. Clearly, we all know Gavin Newsom is running for president in 2028. That's not a secret. He's running for president in 2028. He probably will be one of the leading candidates of the Liberal Party. You're not going to be president with this mindset. You cannot be president because at the end of the day, you're going to have your liberal base that's going to vote blue no matter who, right? The Republicans are going to have their red base that votes red no matter what. The independence is what you need to win over. So 2020, whether we like it or not, Biden won a lot of the independents. People didn't like the way Trump handled COVID, which personally for me, I don't think he could have done much about. I think a lot of us blown out proportions, but I'm not going to dive that much into that. 2024, biggest issue is the border. Trump won overwhelmingly because everyone knew Kamala was going to be the same as Biden. If you go into 2027, 2028, and you're still doing this, you're going to lose to J.D. Vance 100%. Independents don't want to put up with this stuff, and it's a stupid direction to take. I gave Gavin Newsom credit when he started his podcast. A lot of people on the left were attacking him for having people like Charlie Kirk on. I thought that was a step in the right direction because I will always say one thing with Gavin Newsom I do respect is he is willing to talk to people on the right, but this is not going to get him anywhere. One more video about this, and then I'm going to jump to how this has spread to other cities. So another person that loves to make everything about Trump is Mr. Bernie Sanders. Now, Bernie Sanders is someone I hope isn't running for president in 2028 because it'll be like 304 then. He should retire at this point, but let's just see what he has to say about Los Angeles.
A word about what's going on in Los Angeles. In my view, this is not about the protests. This is not about ICE. This is not about immigration. What's going on is all about Trump's never-ending desire for more and more power. We live in a federalist form of society. Local government has its responsibilities. State government has federal government has their responsibilities. Calling out the National Guard is the responsibility of the governor of the state, not the president of the United States. And what Trump is doing is simply trying to put more and more power into his own hands in terms of the military. Do not forget, this is a guy who is usurping the powers of Congress, usurping the powers of the judiciary, suing the media, going after law firms, going after universities. He wants more and more power. And I would hope that people, regardless of their political views, you're conservative, you're moderate, you're progressive, whatever you are, now is the time for us to come together and stand against authoritarianism and for democracy. Thank you.
So again, it's all about Trump. Trump wants power. They're not focused on the innocent people getting caught up in all of this that are losing their businesses and losing everything they've worked for. They're focused on Trump. It's just insane. Like, this is their whole personality. This is all they have to say. And we've been going through this for 10 years. We all at this point know what kind of person Trump is. Okay? Everyone on this planet knows what kind of person Trump is. And Trump, when it comes to these ICE deportations, is in favor. He's got favorable views on this. You can say what you want about the way he's doing tariffs and stuff, because that might not be as favorable. With deportations, he's favorable. And it's just the disconnect here. They say, oh, it's about power. It's about power. It's not. Trump just wants things done. He wants things enforced. He wants the law enforced. He wants illegals out of the country. That's what it comes down to. He wants law and order. Let's go to now what's happening in other cities, because this has spread, to put it bluntly, like a wildfire. Okay, so this video has gone pretty viral on Twitter. So like I said earlier in the video, I said I was going to touch on it again. You have protesters running into the streets, ruining everyday people's lives just to do their protest. That's all they're doing here. They're blocking everyday people from living their lives, going to work, going to school, whatever it is, because they want attention. And it's ridiculous. So this is a perfect example here.
But I have a kid. If I don't, and these people are having their children taken and their parents. What about my kids? I need to get a job today. That's what happens to my kids. I can't help you. But you can if you could just move out the way. We're not going to. How is this a peaceful protest if there's nothing to do? No, it's not.
How do y'all as white people feel about stopping a black woman from going to work?
Oh no, not work. I care so much.
So you don't care about stopping black people from going to work?
Look at this line that you guys are causing. I'm not causing no problems. I'm not trying.
You could tell he was like pretty uncomfortable there. After he was asked that, like, this is the thing. Oh no, you got to go to work. These people do not care about anybody but themselves. Yes, real people, real adults have jobs. Clearly you do not. People do. People got to get to work. And these people are supposed to be the ones, oh, we want to fight for the immigrants and the minorities and stuff. But they mock a black woman that wants to go to work. Like, and they're just standing here. They don't care about anybody but themselves. So this is New York City. The riots have started there. This is more New York at night. That's New York. More going on in New York. This is Manhattan. This is crazy. I see some of the signs. Stop the deportations now. F fascism. ICE out of New York. No one is illegal on stolen land. I love that argument. No one is illegal on stolen land. This is more Manhattan. So these are literally federal trucks, trying to leave, federal vans, and rioters swarmed them. So the officers had to go get them out of the way. That's what all this is. Trying to get them out of the way. This is a Walmart in Philly. I'm going to turn the sound off because I don't know that's going to be copyrighted. How does this help? Huh? This is Seattle. Anti-ICE rioters in Seattle just tore down an American flag on a federal building and burned it. Look at this. That is absolutely disgusting. Leave the country if you hate the country. Like, I don't get that. This is San Francisco. Look at that. All the spray paint, destroying buildings. Like, look at this. How does this help your cause? This is just anarchy at this point. It's absolutely insane. This is more from Seattle. So this is a federal building, and people are trying to get in there. Look, they're really trying to fight with the cops. Look, throwing stuff at them. Look at this. Absolutely insane. So out of control. God. And then this is more Seattle. Roughly 6 hours have passed since Antifa and anti-ICE activists have barricaded the exits of a federal building. See, look, so they can't get vehicles out of here to block ICE from transporting illegal immigrants out of the building. Look, they're all just sitting here. Notice they always have masks on. Look at that. They all look the same. That typical look you see of like a leftist, that's what they all look like. This one is Chicago. This says, police in Chicago are now deploying bomb squad to downtown after an ICE rioter entered the sewer system and planted suspicious items. How does that help? Huh? Look at this. This is insane. These cops do not get paid enough. I swear. This is a sky view of all the protesters in Chicago. See them right there. This is more Chicago. Another sky view. Apparently, cities like Dallas, Portland, and Boston have also seen large protests. And it's crazy, too. So they're all leftist states except Texas with Dallas. And Greg Abbott's already called in the National Guard to deal with it. These other states haven't. Greg Abbott's not putting up with it. This is Atlanta. So let's start this from the beginning.
Hold on. Stop.
Just destroying a police car. Fun. It's absolutely insane. Look, mask on. Look at that. Look at that cop car. It's just anarchy. And then you have people like the Krasensteins who are like just, again, like everyone else, blaming Trump. So New York, Los Angeles, Austin, Denver, Atlanta. Is this what you voted for, MAGA? The country certainly wasn't. This divided under Biden. Seems like a problem at the top. No, this is not what this is. See, this is what people don't get. They try to say, oh, because Trump is currently president right now, that all this rioting is coming to him. You know what this is? So people had issues under Biden. A lot of conservatives had issues under Biden. There were still protests, but they were mainly from Antifa. Do you know why it's always the left protesting and not the right? Because the people on the right have jobs. We have families. We have things we need to do. When prices were skyrocketing, people on the right just worked harder. We didn't riot in the street. When people were flooding the border, we just protected ourselves better. We don't do this kind of things. And I know someone's going to be like, oh, what about January 6th? January 6th was one day. This is 4 days now in Los Angeles. Way worse than January 6th. Like, you can't even, like, it's crazy they try to make this comparison. And it's like, I will never understand, like, this whole thing. Like, I just don't get it. Like, you don't have anything better to do in your free time rather than be out on these streets. Get a job. Go contribute to society, because this isn't helping at all. There is nothing you're doing right here that's going to get people to be like, wow, I really need to help this. What you're telling people is your side is really extreme and that people need to get away from it. People need to leave cities like Los Angeles, which people already were during the pandemic. If you look at like the 2030, where the census is supposed to be updated, California is projected to lose like 4 electoral votes because of how many people have left the state, while places like Florida and Texas are expected to gain some. And it's going to keep going that direction because people like Gavin Newsom and Mayor Bass do not care about the citizens that live in their states. That's the issue. And people on the left like Brian Krasenstein don't see that because they have the biggest case of Trump derangement syndrome on the planet. And it's just the lack of care for the innocent people here is absolutely insane. I don't even know what to say anymore. This was just all the coverage just from last night of the riots and what politicians are saying. Thank you for watching this video. If you made it this far, like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me what you think about all this crazy stuff going on, because it's just, I don't even know what to say anymore. I can't believe it's still going on this way. I thought when the weekdays started, people would be like, okay, let's just chill for a little bit. Nope. Still going full force. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you next time.